Hey guys, the year is 1992 and Subaru already have two successful cars. One of them is the Subaru Leon and the second is the Subaru Legacy. Well, the Leon has become a bit outdated and Subaru are looking forward to replacing it with a more efficient car. On the other hand, Colin McRae is winning World Rally Championships in a Subaru Legacy BC5 RS. And one thing about this BC5, it was also at one time driven by our very own Patrick Njiru. But the car that they are looking at developing would solve two challenges. One of those challenges will be replacing the Leon, which is not as efficient as this new vehicle. The other challenge is in the WRC, the Legacy is proving to be too long, and this gives the competitors a competitive edge in rally because their vehicles are shorter, since the WRC is favoring shorter cars. So what do they develop? They come up with an all-new car that is called the Subaru Impreza. Yes, the Subaru Impreza is a darling to many. It favored casual, normal, average people and enthusiasts as well. The Subaru Impreza was an iconic car because it was not only used by enthusiasts, it was used in motorsport, it was used by thieves in Australia, the UK and New Zealand, and guess what? It was also used by the police. In fact, the Impreza is an iconic car and it came in different, different generations. The Hawkeye, the Blowby, the Bug-Eye. 5 generations later, after the mighty Impreza was unveiled to the world, unfortunately, this is what we have left. This is the 5th generation 2017 Subaru Impreza GT7, and we are going to give you an up-close and candid review of this car. However, this is the auto connect juxtaposition, meaning we must compare and contrast two cars. So after the mighty Impreza was humbled by economic times in the world, in the Kenyan market there is a gap for enthusiasts, people who value driving thrill, what the Subaru Impreza offered. Because today, this does not, it no longer, it does not offer that driving thrill that it used to. And well, there is one car that has become common, and on this review, on this auto connect juxtaposition, we would like to answer this question. Is the Mazda Axela 2.2 diesel an answer to this Subaru Impreza GT7? Is this what the enthusiasts will resort to as an alternative to the famous GT7? I'll be your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK, taking you through this review as we seek the answers to this question. And remember, you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok as well. And before you watch this episode, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Also, like this video so that it can be recommended to other people who might be looking for an alternative to this car right here. And now, let's get up close and candid with these two cars. The Subaru Impreza GT7. It is something completely different from what was unveiled to the world in 1992. In fact, it is nothing compared to the older Imprezas. In fact, Subaru started losing it on the Impreza after the Subaru Impreza N10, when we got into the generation of the GP series and now the GT series. Now, the Subaru Impreza has become more of a car that suits point A to point B people. It's no longer the vehicle that every teenage boy had a poster of in his room. But that does not mean it's no longer a good car, but it has metamorphosized into something completely different. What are the design cues that the Subaru Impreza has lost? Now, the Impreza and the Subaru brand was known for one thing, frameless doors, but unfortunately the GT7, even the GT6s no longer have the frameless doors. But there are several design cues that Subaru has retained in the GT7 that make it a true Subaru. One of them is what is under the hood, although what is under the hood is quite different, but it retains something with the Subaru DNA. The second thing is the drivetrain of this vehicle. But let me start, before we talk about what is under the hood, let's start with the prima facie, the first impression of the Subaru Impreza GT7. One thing you will notice that this one has fog lights and daytime running lights. However, you will not get this in the basic version of the Subaru Impreza, of the 2017 Subaru Impreza, because the basic version does not have some of these things. In fact, if you're buying this particular car, this is the GT7 is the highest trim in its category, and that is why it comes with Subaru's eyesight and a 2-liter engine and symmetrical all-wheel drive. In fact, those are some of the character traits of the modern Subaru. And let's start with talking about what is under the hood. Well, under the hood of this GT7 is a 2-liter power plant. However, this is not the usual trademark Impreza power plant. What do we have here? Now remember, and this is something that is very unfortunate. Na kama kawaida unaona tuko na chuma ya doshi, we do not have struts. So under the hood of the Subaru Impreza GT7 is this FB20 motor. And you have talked about the FB20 for a long time at Auto Connect. It's among Subaru's new engines, new generation of engines. Unlike the other engines that were offered in the Subaru Impreza, the EJ series of engines, you know, we had some very famous engines in the EJ series of engines, like the EJ20D, the EJ20G. Those were, you know, they were impeccable engines. They were known for power, and they were known to have to be driven by a belt. They were belt driven. Actually, even the non-performance variants like the EJ20NA, the EJ15, the EJ16, all of them had a timing belt. One of the challenges in the older engines that were offered in the Subaru Impreza, the EJ series of engines, was the timing belt, because they were belt driven, and if not routinely maintained, the belts would snap, and that would cost you a lot when it comes to the engine. Now Subaru upgraded the EJ series of engines to the FA and the FB series of engines, and they put in a timing chain. So this FB20 is actually chain driven. It's no longer belt driven. Now, the other feature of this FB20 is that it comes with a dual active valve control system, or what Subaru calls DAVCS. Well, there are other variants that come with what is called AVCS, the active valve control system, but that one is for a single application. So what is the difference between single active valve control system and dual active valve control system? Now with the single, it means that the camshaft only controls the valves, or actively, or the, you know, first of all, the active valve control system is basically a form of variable valve timing by Subaru. So now if you have a single active valve control system, it will only be, the camshaft will only be controlling valves on the inlet side or on the intake side. But when you have dual active valve control system, the camshafts will control both the intake valves and the exhaust valves. Tuko pamoja hadi hapo? The other thing is that this engine features a dual overhead camshaft design. Now, there is something else that is trademark Subaru on this vehicle, and I'm going to talk about how that impacts the driving of a Subaru. Now, Subaru has been known to have flat 4 engines, or even flat 6s, engines that have horizontally opposed pistons. Now, flat engines, or flat 4s and flat 6s, normally have a lower center of gravity, meaning that Subarus are actually more stable even compared to other cars, because of the obvious advantage of a low center of gravity. Now this engine will give you, the 2-liter will give you about 150 horsepower and 196 Newton meters of torque. Well, how is this power transmitted to the wheels? I told you now, the modern Subaru has these character traits. It has Subaru's eyesight, it has a flat 4 engine, and it has symmetrical all-wheel drive system. Now this Subaru features symmetrical all-wheel drive system. However, this is not standard, because if you get the basic versions of the Subaru Impreza, you will get them in 2-wheel drive configuration. But now this GT7 comes with a symmetrical all-wheel drive system, but power is transmitted to the wheels through a lineartronic CVT transmission. And that is one of the bases of having the Mazda Axela as an alternative to this vehicle. Now, before we get to the Mazda Axela, we have talked about the engine, we have talked about the drivetrain, but I would like us to talk about the suspension. Now, Subarus are normally very responsive, especially because of their electronic power system or electronically assisted steering systems, just like you would find on the Mazda Axela. Now, both cars have McPherson struts at the front and independent rear suspension, but the Subaru is more stable because of the lowered center of gravity. So that is one advantage of the Subaru Impreza GT7. However, what if you want something more exciting to drive? Because with the lineartronic CVT transmission, you don't necessarily get that thrillful drive. Okay, the steering system, the lower center of gravity will make you want to drive a Subaru, but what if you want something that will give you more thrill? It might not get to the thrill levels of the older Imprezas, but yes, this is the new thing. And we are talking about the Mazda Axela 2.2 liter diesel, the Sky Active D. Now, the Mazda, when it comes to looks, Mazda has perfected Kodo's design language to give this car a very stylish prima facie. In fact, it has become the in thing to young people. Now, the Mazda Axela comes in like 4 engine configurations. You have a 1.5 petrol, you have a 2 liter petrol, you have a 1.5 diesel and a 2.2 liter diesel. But this is the 2.2 liter Sky Active D. When it comes to power and torque, the 2.2 liter diesel has featured in so many conversations. But let me keep the record straight. Well, I told you that the GT7 will give you around 150 horsepower from a 2 liter FB20 petrol engine, because now these Imprezas do not feature a diesel engine. With the Axela, if you get it with the 1.5 liter diesel, because if you're buying a diesel Axela, it will come with a 1.5 liter diesel or the 2.2 liter diesel. If you get it with a 1.5 liter diesel, it will give you about 104 horsepower and 270 Newton meters of torque. But if you get it with a 2.2 liter diesel, it will give you 150 horsepower, just like in the Impreza, but with 320 Newton meters of torque. That is about 120 more Newton meters of torque compared to the Subaru. And this is where the thrill comes in. The other reason, apart from the torque figures that these Mazdas are getting, the diesel ones, the other reason has been because of fuel economy. And the 2.2 liter Mazda Axela diesel has been known to push about 16 kilometers to the liter, whereas the GT7 with the 2 liter FB20 will push around 14 kilometers to the liter on average if driven well. It can do worse, but you know, we don't know Subarus for very good fuel economy. Well, this means you can get performance at a package, but remember, these Mazda diesels do not have impressive horsepower ratings. What they have and what gives you that driving thrill is the torque that comes from these cars. Let's talk about one very important thing, and that is reliability. One thing about the Subaru FB20 engines is that, you know, you will they are easy on maintenance. They are not problematic in any way, and you don't have to modify them after buying them, but after buying the car. But with the Mazda Axela, it is prudent that you do a DPF delete after you buy this car. And if you do not want to do a DPF delete, there is another solution. Keep on cleaning your DPF. There are guys out there who are offering DPF cleaning services. And if you don't want to do both, then make sure if you're buying this car, this is a more of a touring car. It's a car for long distances. Why? So that the DPF can continue regenerating. Another thing you need to know about these Mazda diesels is that they are quite sensitive to fuel, something that you might not have to worry about the Subaru Impreza GT7. But I would like us to talk about something else. Now, these cars are known or would be bought by people who want a little bit of performance. And right here, we have tires. So how do tires impact your performance, or how do tires impact your control or the control you have over your vehicle. Now, we brought in a tire specialist from Road Cruiser to try and tell us about a particular variant of tires that are called ultra high performance tires. These are tires that you're going to buy in case you're buying a performance car. Well, these are not really performance cars, but in case you're looking at a vehicle that you will want to push the limits, then you should know about these tires. And these are Mazda Axela. It's the diesel version and it's known for performance. Also, that car over here is also known for performance. And the tuning scene in Kenya ya wase wanataka magari za performance imekuwa actually wase wameingilia sana performance. And the guys from Road Cruiser have a tire for performance and it's called the
UHP.
Yes. Tuambie more about the UHP.
Now this is an ultra high performance tire.
So UHP
UHP, ultra high performance. If you look at this tire, it's not symmetrical. There's an outside part and there's an inside part, depending on the pattern. So the pattern actually, mostly these patterns come with the low profile tires. The ones which are 55, 50, 45, 40. So it's able to handle very high speeds. And then again, also it gives you more control with the pattern and the design that it has. Like for instance, most of the tires you see, they have this this line on the center. There's actually a line that makes you more comfortable when you're driving on high speed along a straight line. Okay. And then again also, depending on which side, you'll find one side gives you more control on the inside than on the outside. Okay. Both also for something else that most people don't really factor in on tires is hydroplaning. Like for instance, during this kind of weather, you'll find there are some roads which are a bit wet, even on the tarmac that you can even slide. So these are some of the tires that gives you better control on those kind of roads.
So tread pattern is very important.
Very important.
So if you're running a high performance vehicle, you will not, it is better to use these ultra high performance tires.
Yes, ultra high performance.
Other than that,
than the other high tire pattern.
Ah,
yes.
Interesting. Apart from a diesel engine offering, what else would give the Mazda Axela a competitive edge over the Subaru Impreza GT7? That one thing is the transmission. The Subaru Impreza GT7 is driven via a lineartronic CVT. And we know CVTs are not really used for high torque applications. In fact, they are known for efficiency. They try to make cars more economical and guarantee you a smooth ride, but they are not for enthusiasts, and that is why enthusiasts are slowly walking away from Subaru because of the boring CVT transmissions. Well, the lineartronic CVT is quite reliable. In fact, it's among the most reliable in the world. But what do we have on the Mazda Axela? Well, the Mazda Axela is an enthusiast's dream. Why? Because if you mate a good transmission to that diesel engine, you get pure driving bliss. Well, mated to this 2.2 liter diesel is a 6-speed torque converter automatic transmission. And when you're driving this car, you feel that thrill of driving it because you can feel the gears shift, and they shift all the way to the 6th gear. Let me give you a very interesting fact about Mazda and CVT transmission. Well, most people have talked about Mazda ditching CVTs, but guess what? I know you must have seen the Mazda Axela hybrids. Guess what? They run on an eCVT transmission. I just thought you should know. So if you're buying a Mazda Axela hybrid, be sure to understand that it runs on a CVT transmission. However, the conventional internal combustion engines without any hybrid witchcraft on them, they use the 6-speed torque converter automatic transmission, or even better, a manual transmission. Yes, so the best transmission you can have mated to that 2.2 liter diesel, the one that will give you the pure thrill, pure bliss of driving, and even maximum fuel economy would be the manual transmission, although you can still get a manual trans on the GT7 as well. Let's talk about safety, because it's an important factor when you're considering buying a car. These two cars have impeccable safety ratings. They score very well when it comes to safety. Both of them have, collision prevention mechanisms. Both of them have lane departure assist. They have blind spot monitoring. Subaru boasts of the eyesight system or the eyesight package, and that has been a benchmark for many other automobile manufacturers. And Subaru set standards when it came to eyesight, and there has been a bite of me talking about eyesight and Subaru making rounds on TikTok. Many people might not want to hear this,
Yes.
but let me tell you, if there are vehicles that are actually safe these days,
Yeah.
are Subarus.
Ah,
Yes.
Subaru ya Mambaru.
Subaru eyesight is just something else. But anyway, that's not important. One thing I must commend Subaru for is eyesight, because eyesight technology on Subaru was just revolutionary. Yeah. And most other manufacturers, even Mazda has the same, but the benchmark technology has to come from eyesight. In fact, ukienda pale Kiambu Road na hata Mombasa, wanakuambia, oh, hii gari iko na eyesight, hii Mazda iko na eyesight. No, eyesight is the trademark name or the flagship name for that technology that Subaru used, and that is what is on the GT7. Mazda has theirs, and both have the same application. However, there is something that Subaru wins over the Mazda when it comes to safety. Now imagine you're walking down the street and a Subaru Impreza GT7 appears from nowhere and unfortunately hits you. You know, it's very hard for this car to actually hit you because of the eyesight system. Eyesight system has something called autonomous emergency braking, that if a pedestrian crosses the road, it can automatically brake itself to prevent it from running over a pedestrian. But what if you actually get to run over the pedestrian? Subaru has added an extra feature, and it is called the pedestrian protection airbag, and it is right here. So in case this Subaru Impreza GT7 hits you, it will deploy an airbag to prevent you from being injured more, and that is something the Mazda Axela does not have. Let us talk about the interior of these two cars. Well, we start with the Subaru Impreza GT7. Now, the GT7 has a traditional interior. It's spacious, it's practical. It has an infotainment system that is well placed, a 7-inch screen, and it has one feature that the Mazda Axela does not have. And this is for people who want to go off-road, or to people who want to go on steep inclines or steep descents, and that is downhill assist. You can see the downhill assist button right here, and this is to aid, whenever you're using downhill assist, it means you're putting the symmetrical all-wheel drive to its use or to its limits. You're taking this car off-road, because symmetrical all-wheel drive it's a versatile all-wheel drive system, both for off-road and on-road. In fact, it gives you maximum traction on road. Well, with the Mazda Axela, you will get some all-wheel drive variants. However, I always say that the two tried, tested, and proven all-wheel drive systems in the world are one, Audi's Quattro and Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive. So on the GT7, you'll get the downhill assist to assist you go down those steep descents. Well, with the second row of seats, you have almost equal space. Let's talk about the rear. Both of them have their own unique styling. The styling on the Subaru Impreza GT7 is quite subtle and very simple, but on the Mazda Axela, it's quite sophisticated with the Kodo design language, the soul of motion that is inspired by flow. Let's talk about what is under the hood. Both of them have a hatchback configuration or a hatchback design, and they are practical cars. They have ample storage space or carriage space for your luggage. So they are both ideal when it comes to carrying capacity. Some variants of the Mazda Axela will offer something that you will not get even in the highest trim levels of the GT7, and that is heads-up display. Unfortunately, our Mazda Axela does not have heads-up display. Let's talk about value for money. Well, I would like to remind you that we borrowed these cars from CARPLICITY. CARPLICITY are at Ridgeways along Kiambu Road, and if you want to view a car or talk to them, their number is in the description below. You can talk to David or you can talk to Kevin. Now let's talk about the figures. If you're buying a Subaru Impreza GT7, it will set you back around 2.1 million Kenya shillings. But if you're looking for the answer to having a thrillful drive and consider the Mazda Axela 2.2 liter diesel, it will set you back 1.95 million Kenya shillings. Well, the difference is about 200,000. However, there are some trims of the Mazda Axela that will match up to the price of the Subaru Impreza GT7. However, if you buy a basic Subaru Impreza GT, it will just set you back around 1.8 million Kenya shillings. Remember, this is the highest trim, it's the GT7. There are basic trims that have two-wheel drive and do not have eyesight. Now, those ones are cheaper. In fact, they will be cheaper than the Mazda Axela because they'll cost around 1.8 million Kenya shillings. Well, these two cars are almost around the same price. Let's price the high trims. Now, if you're buying the GT7 and the highest trim level of the Axela diesel that has even a sunroof, they'll cost you around 2.1 million Kenya shillings. But which one would you go for? Well, this one has the advantage of fuel economy and the gearbox, while the Subaru has the advantage of safety. If you're a driving enthusiast, the Axela might appeal more because it gives you driving thrill. But if you only want to move from point A to point B in a unique vehicle and you're a Subaru lover, well, you might as well take the Subaru Impreza GT7. Now, it will be hard for the Subaru Impreza to beat the Mazda Axela. In fact, if you're looking at fuel economy and driving thrill, the Mazda will win over the Subaru Impreza. Now, I hope this review has been insightful. I've been your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. Remember, you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Eric with a CK is my handle. And please remember to like this video, share it with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel.